Hello, I'm Anthony. Today I want to talk a little bit about the difficulty of writing lyrics for somebody else to sing. All of the music on my channel is written by me. The music, the lyrics, all of the production, the recording, everything except the vocals. I can't sing really at all. And so my wife, who has a very beautiful singing voice, sings my songs for me. That got me into real trouble in this song. There's a song called River Run, which, as I'll demonstrate today, has some fundamental issues with this vocal take, to the extent that we're actually going to re-record it. I'm going to play you the song pretty much exactly as produced. The only thing I've done is taken ozone off the stereo bus because it hammers my processor. But this is the song, or the first verse of the song, as originally released.
Painted from memory, summer days green and long, lazy and carefree, drunk on mist and rhyme, dressed like a new dawn, full of dreams yet to come, always the same song, sung with different lines.
Now, on first listen, you might not think there's anything wrong with that, but as we listen more carefully, and obviously I'm much more familiar with the song, you start hearing all of the problems with it. The primary difficulty was that I didn't leave enough room for breaths. When I was writing the lyrics, I was listening to a guide vocal in my ears, just basically having the verse go around, or the chorus or whatever, on loop. And I was writing the lyrics in my mind. I didn't physically sing them, and so I didn't leave enough room for breaths to be taken, making this song essentially unsingable. I'll narrow in on a single phrase, and I'll take the rest of the music away so we can just hear the lead vocals. In fact, I'll also take all processing away on the track as well, all the inserts and the reverb, and we'll just listen to the naked vocal exactly as sung, with a volume bump, because we've not got any compression anymore.
Dreams yet to come, always the same song.
Can you hear that in between the final word of this phrase, there's not enough room? This hash bit is where these two vocals overlap. There's simply not enough room to get in a breath. That was purely a function of me not physically singing the song as I was writing it. The lyrics were fine in terms of their vocal content, their lyrical content, but if it's not singable, then it's not viable. So our solution was to cut the song up into multiple sections. She would sing one phrase, we'd stop, and then we'd come back and sing the next phrase and then splice them together. That in turn created three brand new problems. The first is that it sounds unnatural. Go back and listen to that phrase again. Those two words, they just don't live together because there's not enough time for a human being to take a breath. It's really obvious that it's wrong.
Yet to come, always the...
You can kind of hear this tiny little breath thing happening. Now, I've tried to fix it, as you can see, with volume automation by scooping out most of the breath and just leaving a tiny little bit there. I tried to hide the fact that there were these kind of basically cross-faded breaths, but it just doesn't wash. It doesn't sound natural. It doesn't sound right. The second problem was not paying sufficient attention to Pauline's exact position for her to stand in front of the microphone, and those very slight differences, either above or below, or more likely to the left or right because she doesn't grow in the meantime, they created a different atmosphere between the phrases. Listen to these two phrases sung together. You can hear that there's a clear difference between her positioning. Simply increasing the volume of one doesn't fix it.
Drunk on mist and rhyme, dressed like a new dawn.
It's like she's kind of stood slightly to the side of the microphone, or there's something just wrong. It just doesn't sound right. And even though I can't put my finger on what it is that I've got wrong, I know that there's definitely something wrong with it. And this is the phrase in the entire song. This is the one that annoys me the most because it really smacks me in the face. Once again.
Drunk on mist and rhyme, dressed like a new dawn.
I think she was actually stood a little bit too far away from the microphone, and as she starts singing, she comes slightly closer. So this phrase is slightly too quiet. But even with that said, you know, there is definitely a physical positioning problem. It sounds like it's recorded with two different microphones, and it wasn't. Third issue, and you're probably hearing a little bit between these two takes as well, is the ambient environment. The takes for this particular vocal performance were recorded over probably an hour and a half, And over the course of that time, the ambient environment in this room changed. It's not a recording studio. This is my office at home. And so if you spend too long doing a recording, you try to fit them together, you're going to get different background noises. Now I have a noise suppressor. I have RX8 in the background, Isotopes, kind of noise suppression software, trying to control some of that. But nevertheless, there is a fundamental acoustic to the room. And when you're listening to something as nakedly intimate as this vocal, there's only an acoustic guitar and a very subtle bass in the background. There's really nothing, there's nowhere for the vocals to hide. You're hearing absolutely every aspect of it. So, sadness on the stack, sadness resolves. The only decision that's left available to me is to re-record the entire vocal. I've got no choice. And in order to do that, I've had to rewrite the lyrics. When we're recording vocals, I write these piano guidelines, and this is the guide to which Pauline sings when she's doing the performance. So she's got the lyric sheet in front of her, and then I write this piano guideline. And there are now spaces at bar 5 and bar 7. These notes used to be essentially continuous, and I've now left a space. So without the old vocal, now just the piano guide vocal, listen to these gaps, and it's going to be natural. You're going to be able to hear basically those breaths happen. So I've basically edited the lyrics wherever there were phrases that were too long to fit in, basically too many syllables. I've literally had to rewrite the song, write some new lyrics, which is a great shame because I really like the old ones. But it doesn't matter how much you like a thing. If it's not viable, it doesn't work, it's got to go. You cannot compromise, particularly when it comes to the vocals. I've tried to do everything in my power to make this vocal line work. All of the fading and moving around and audio warping to push things out of the way, which in turn, is going to have some sort of deleterious effect on the audio quality. You can't do any audio warping without having some sort of effect on the audio. Essentially, I was putting a shine on you-know-what. The only thing left for me to do is to re-record the entire thing. So that's what we'll do this weekend. We'll re-record these lyrics. We'll turn it into a fun thing. I love recording these lyrics with Pauline. It's always great fun. So rather than it being a chore and sad that I lost what's otherwise a great performance, some of the vibrato on some of these phrases that she sings was absolutely to die for. Let's just hope it can be recreated. But, at the end of the day, there's no choice. It's got to be right, and it's annoyed me ever since I first released this song. Oh well, lesson learned. I suppose wisdom wouldn't be so useful if it was easier to acquire. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Please hit like if you did. I'll see you again. Thanks very much.